Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. I want to thank my sponsors, Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. So here's an episode for your listening enjoyment. What are you doing now with custom cards? Because you've got skills.
It really started about 2 years ago. I ended up actually getting a superfractor of Nolan Gorman. We've talked about wanting things that are unique and different. We started going back and forth, and we had that graded, and my son was like, "Oh, I want something different. I want something that's unique." Having grown up in the printing business and having grown up being able to do art, I started doing some drawings. He had, being a 9-year-old boy, he's got practice all the time for different sports. I'm spending a lot of time sitting on bleachers and not having things to do. I've always got a book with me, just a sketchbook, where a lot of times my son calls it my doodles, and I do different things. All of a sudden, he asked me for, I can't remember what it was specifically, but being 9 years old, he loves Pokemon. And he wanted a Deadpool themed Pikachu card. Of course, there's not going to be one of those anywhere in the world. So I proceeded to draw a Deadpool Pikachu card. And he loved it, and I thought it was great. And I posted it on Instagram. And next thing I know, I've got 8 people sending me messages saying, "Hey, can I get one of those?" Again, I wanted things to be unique and different. Having, like I said, growing up in the printing business, I knew different materials and different things. And you've seen the ray waves and the lava refractors and the X-fractor and all the different ways of doing it. So I ended up starting to put some different pieces together and send them out to people. The first several I just put out there is like, "Here you go, take them." And then they paid for shipping, and it was great. It's like, "Here, great." All of a sudden, one day I put one up of Patrick Mahomes, and the guy comes to me and goes, "Can I pay you $100 for this?" And I was like, "Sure, why not? I'll take it. It helps pay for the materials. This is great." And it just kind of rolled from there. And so I've done a number of different pieces. And now I've even expanded out into painting dollar bills as a fun, different one, because there's been a lot of talk of people, "Oh, is that AI or is this that?" That's become a pretty common one we hear. And we've started posting videos of the whole creation process so that people can see it being made and being rolled from the first stroke all the way through. Fortunately, the iPads have the ability to actually keep track of every stroke you make. And then you end up with this long video that you can speed up and post on Instagram or wherever you want. And but it's been fun because it's connected me with a whole different side of the community that I never really paid attention to. I was big into sports, the baseball side of things and football. I wasn't as big a basketball guy, but football and baseball were my 2 big passions. Now I see a lot of things in kind of the combination of the Star Wars themes are coming in, and you see a lot of those cards in the market right now. And that's connected me to those areas. But then also, I think there's a lot of interest in combining sports and pop culture. And I think there's a lot of nostalgic stuff.
Okay, but I mean, we've talked about licensing. Those are almost impossible licenses when
They
you're
are.
combining Pokemon and Deadpool. They're 2 different universes. Not only that, there's not a huge market for these mashups. But one of ones on these original creations, like I said, I don't think there's a licensing problem as long as you're doing one-offs.
You're
Of
making
art, it could
one.
even be a caricature. There's lots of different permissions and safety you have in a person doing their own art. Even if you're selling them, even if you're selling for big bucks, as long as they're one of ones and they're very creative, but there'll never be a price guide for them.
No.
I think they have value.
You see that just in the general art market. I think people call them custom cards. Some people call them art cards. There's a lot of different names for them. But you're even seeing the tops of the world and Upper Deck, and I even think Panini now have different ways. They have sketch cards that are being inserted into the products because people want this unique take on things. They want to see how else did somebody look at this same concept. And art is art. You're not copying anybody's exact character. You're not doing a mass production. Like you say, you're doing one off here, one off there. We're not making big bucks in this business.
Yeah, but even the sketch cards and things like that, they're within a product. They have to be consistent with the license requirements that are there. It needs to be those subjects or that IP. You have such a broader canvas, for doing your custom cards, like putting two different things together. I've always wondered because we dabble with that aspect. You're really not besmirching either Pokemon or Deadpool. You're being clever in the way you highlight things. So it's not that makes Deadpool look stupid or bad. It makes it look interesting. I think that's where they'd have a problem if they thought it was disparaging.
Oh, for sure.
But I don't
No,
think most of these are. Is that a bigger part of your hobby expression than collecting cards and going to shows and things like that?
it's become the connection for me. I still love going to card shows and being in Dallas. I'm fortunate to go every 2 months and get to spend some time up there.
Have you ever been contacted by any of the manufacturers?
No,
Because
no.
I think they ought to be talking to people like you for fresh ideas. Someone interested in collecting and has artistic eye. You were asking me about card shops in the area. Is that because you're interested or curious?
I'm
Because
just I'm curious. I'm always looking at where the best products are, where the best connection is to find things. I don't want to go online to buy the breaking side of the business. I'm not one to do that. I like to go and actually get a box and open it up, but I also want to make sure that you can find those boxes. That's been a pretty difficult thing as of late.
I guess I'm editorializing here, but I think no one card shop is better than the huge card show that's every 2 months.
Yeah,
Because many of the
that's I
card
agree.
shops have booths or tables there, but there's a number of good card shops in the area, but the show is so dominant. If you just want to get a fix every 2 months, wow, you've got so much under roof there. You got competitive pricing with all the different dealers there. So you already
It's
figured.
Yeah, that's been the easiest way to find pretty much anything. We are very lucky to have the show we have here in Dallas. It's not the national by any means, but we get a pretty good taste of it every
It's
month.
it's better than the first 5 or 10 nationals, I'll tell you right now. That was pretty 5 for sure. Maybe they started getting strong after about 10, but you asked me about grading and the differences in the grading companies, and I don't think I've said it this way before, but I believe there's not as much difference in the grading companies as you would think. If something comes back at 8.5, the other company had it as a 9, oh, that's terrible. There is some subjectivity to it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If they are a couple of grades off, it's because somebody missed something, and that'd be a mistake. They're not infallible. If people told me they've got some cards I want to get graded, and I'm going to go to one of the major grading companies, do you have a problem with that? And even though we're friends, I think BGS is as good as any of them, if not better. But the secondary market at this time favors PSA. So it depends the holder, the quality of the holder, all those kind of things. I don't think you can go too wrong if you're dealing with one of the major companies. And if you do decide not to like it, you can always get it crossed over or slabbed. But I think what's
No,
happening in grading is good.
it's been interesting to see, and I can't say the exact date, but 5 years ago, a BGS 95 was
Oh, yeah.
worth more than a PSA 10, and now it's flipped. That's not to say with everything going on with your former company, we'll see what happens, but that's not to say an SGC or a CGC or the next company that nobody knows of today is not going to be worth more 10 years from now than PSA is. I think a lot of it has to do with, do you like how it looks? And a lot of people talk about it. You got to love what you collect. If everything's a pure business transaction, it's going to wear on you a bit eventually. You got to enjoy it.
The past is the best predictor of the future, but it's not the only predictor because things change. You've pointed out something's going a certain direction. There could be a discontinuity, could be a new entrant, could be scandal. I don't like scandal. So there's no sure things. And if you're buying cards instead of slabs, and they could be cards that are slabbed, but you're really buying because you love the card. To me, that's a good defense right there that you like the looks of the card. The number is secondary. And more people are buying on eye appeal nowadays anyway. Your custom cards, that's all about eye appeal, whether it's in a slab or not. Is it interesting?
The custom side, there are a couple that have been able to get graded by different companies, but I've got a couple of different ones on my desk that we create our own labels. We make fun of when we do our labels just because, hey, is it a good grade? Is it a bad grade? What name, what's on it? What things do we want to promote within it?
You asked me how I decide if I want to hold a card more long
Mhm.
term.
Sure.
Number one, the grade has almost nothing to do with it. I'm not going to hold a card longer because it's a 10 as opposed to a 9. It'd be a very rare occurrence if that happened. I hold on to cards for mainly two reasons. Number one, I love the card, or it fits with some collecting angle that I think is important as I tell my story. The cards on my card wall, they're not all super valuable, but each one was hand curated.
Mm.
The second reason I would hold on to something longer term is whether I perceive it's undervalued and has the potential to go up. And I am selling 1% a month. I'm not selling cards in the first wave that I think are going to go up. If I think they've peaked and I don't love them anymore, that's a good card to sell. There's almost no such thing as going up. When people looked at the magazine, they saw an arrow there and said, it's going up. It went up that month. It may continue to go up. A lot of things continue to go up. But I just try to figure, do I really think it's going to keep going up? If it's peaked, yeah, I'd want to sell it. Are you that way? Because sentimental is part of it and business is part of it.
Sure. For me, a chunk of it is sentimental. The big cards I've got are sentimental. There are some I look at and I've bought just because I think they're undervalued. As an example, Ronald Acuna cards last year were a great example. People were dumping them left and right because he had an ACL injury. Okay. He's had another ACL injury a couple of years ago and came back and won MVP. I look at that and I go, okay, that's an undervalued play. If you would, in a way, that's a commodity.
Probably. But you're betting he's a finely tuned elite athlete.
Yes, that I look at, but as an example, I've got a whole collection of Tom Brady X-Fractors. I love the look of the X-Fractor cards. They're a fun one, and they've been fun ones to go out and collect. My son, he's a huge Tom Brady fan. We've got now, I think, 586 different
Mhm.
X-Fractor type cards, and he's a GOAT, right? I mean, it's hard to argue that he's not the best or if not one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Makes it easier to collect and think, okay, maybe long term they'll be worth a little bit more. But at the same time, I've got other ones. Being that my last name is Jobe, we've gone and collected a couple of Jackson Jobe cards just because it's got our name on it. It's something fun. Is he going to go up? I don't know. It's important for everybody to go out and collect what they love. As I've told my son, make sure you like it when you buy it, not just buy it because you think the value is going to go up. Because if the value goes to zero and you're stuck with it, you got to be able to look at it and go, yeah, I still like the look of it.
Okay, hypothetical for you, Reagan. I'll put you on the spot here. You come
Oh
back
boy.
one day and you tell your son, "Oh, I sold all the Tom Brady X Fractors. What do you think?" What's your son going to say? Is he going to go to his room? Is he going to stop speaking?
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
might stop speaking to
you
me.
might co-own them, sentimentally at least. To
Oh,
what
for sure.
extent is this a joint collection to where he's
Oh,
fully invested, not financially as much as emotionally? Is that true?
yeah, 100%. And I would even say he's emotionally invested in the custom card business that we're doing, the art card, because he will constantly come up with ideas and bring them to me. And that's what got me back into this game, if you will, as a whole. Being a kid of the 90s, we had a ton of trash. The only cards I still have was a 1989 score football set that I had bought at one point in time, mainly because it had Troy Aikman's rookie card. Being a kid in Dallas, it was a big card for me. Come to find out, it ended up having Deion Sanders' rookie card. It had Thurman Thomas's rookie card. It had Barry Sanders' rookie card. Fortunately, I still had that entire set. My parents hadn't thrown it away of all the other things that
Yeah.
my mom had easily thrown away, as most of us did. But I still had that. But that was really the only cards I had. And he started, I think for his eighth birthday, he started asking a lot of friends to buy him baseball cards for his birthday. So he just started getting a lot of cards. And then I was like, oh, let's go to the card show. And definitely there's a huge emotional connection. He has quote unquote his cards that are financially his cards, but I realize that there's some cards that I'm never going to be able to sell, or I'm going to have his approval to sell just because there's a huge connection to him. He's big into F1 and he pulled a Mick Schumacher autographed gold card. He's a backup driver, but that was the first numbered autograph he had pulled. That was just one of those big things to him. No matter what, he'll keep that forever and ever just because it's such a big deal to him.
I think collecting parents know this, but if you can get your kids to be collectors, you never have to worry about birthday presents the
No.
rest of your life. You're always going to be able to get something that they want to do. And if they have a hobby for life, that's a good thing.